Absolutely, and I think that is the point of raising this awareness now that it was opened yesterday. It was opened the 13th of April, and it was launched by the Minister for Justice, Jim O'Callaghan. There's nearly 5 million available nationally, and as you said, Dara, it's grants between 20,000 and 150,000 are on offer. So I suppose we should be looking at this in the context of kind of increasing pressure on communities, because I'll know from my work as a councillor on the ground that I'm consistently hearing from residents day in, day out. And it's not specific to one area or another, to be honest, but I'm consistently hearing about these issues relating to antisocial behaviour. A lot of issues that kind of relate to a lack of structured youth engagement, and definitely, I think, concerns around safety, even within housing estates and public areas. And there's many housing estates where traditionally we wouldn't have seen all too many issues with antisocial behaviour, but definitely in the last few years, just to hear my own constituents tell it to me when I meet with them on the doors or at community events, there does seem to be a massive increase in antisocial behaviour in all areas. So I suppose this community safety fund, actually what's so fantastic about it is that it reinvests proceeds of crime. So any proceeds that were seized by the Criminal Assets Bureau and An Garda Síochána, and it's actually putting that money that was seized back into local communities to kind of support these kinds of initiatives, and their grassroots responses to crime and safety challenges. And I just want to kind of make it clear to everyone that it's essential that local groups don't miss out on what normally is a very competitive fund. So it's important to get those applications in early so that any issues with the applications can be flagged well in advance of the deadline, and give those groups time to make the necessary changes if needed.
And what we have seen in the past, and as you mentioned there, it does come from proceeds seized by the Criminal Assets Bureau, which is just, look, a fantastic use of that money. But we've seen, for example, youth clubs set up. It might even be money for something as simple as five-a-side tournaments, but it's very much aimed at the youth diversion model. It can even go in some cases to setting up community facilities, which gives people another option to say, get off the streets and use their energy elsewhere. So certainly if there is somebody with a good thought, a good idea in mind, now's the time to propose it.
Absolutely, and I suppose they're looking for applications from individual groups or collaborations between various groups, NGOs, or even with local authorities as well. I think last year you can, if you go onto the Department of Justice website, you can actually see the successful projects from last year, and you'll see a really, really wide variety in the kind of projects that were approved and that actually went and got the funding, but also the different types of groups and bodies that applied for funding. So, you would have had collaborations between universities and local authorities, but you also would have had, things like different traveller networks around the country, even rape crisis centres around the country, but a lot of youth groups. And it is actually helpful if you're a community group that is thinking of putting in an application. Something that can be very helpful is to go onto the website and look at the successful projects that were granted funding from the previous few years, so 2025 and 2024, because it can really give people a good idea of what kind of projects get approved and what kind of groups actually have been successful in getting funding previously.